Hello, and welcome to the Overly Animated podcast, where we take animation seriously. We talk everything animation here, including Ducktales, which we'll be getting into right now. I'm your host, Alex Bonilla, and today I'm joined by Steve Zec.
Hello.
And today we are going to be discussing the latest two episodes of Ducktales. So we're approaching the end of the season here. We've got the secrets of Castle McDuck and the last crash of the Sunchaser to talk about. If you want to check up on previous discussions we've had about Ducktales, you can find that at overlyanimated.com, on iTunes at overlyanimated.com/iTunes. We also have a YouTube channel, overlyanimated.com/YouTube. Or you can also find us on any podcatching app you use. Wherever you listen to us, we always appreciate any ratings and reviews you want to leave us. But last week I said that we had a lot to talk about in regards to this story. And here as well, we have a lot to talk about.
Yeah.
The last episode that we discussed was going full steam ahead on the Magica side of the story. But now in this episode, we're coming back to the story that we've had since the very beginning of this show, which is the nephew's mother, Della Duck. And we got a nice reveal out of it. So, Steve, what are your reactions to these two episodes?
I can't even. When I saw the latest episode, I just had to go into a mental ball. I mean, it's just mentally draining. And I love both episodes. I mean, the Secrets of Castle McDuck was more of the upper episode, more of the positive episode. While this one, the last crash of the Sunchasers was so it was one of those mentally exhausting episodes. It was great. I loved it. It probably might be right now the best episode of the series so far. But it just caught my heart. Just destroyed my heart. And I don't know about you, but the part that really affected me the most was when Scrooge yelled at Webby and said, "You're not family." And Webby's reaction, oh my God, part of me just died.
Yeah, I was thinking the same thing with the Sunchaser. I think that this has an almost easy claim to being the best episode of DuckTales, and I was wondering if that was hyperbolic, but hearing you say that it helped me to believe a little bit more. But yes, I think that in the last episode we talked about with Webby and Lena and all that, we talked about how it was doing really well at showing the emotional stress between the characters, but it kind of got undone by the whole dream sequence thing. But this episode, especially the Sunchaser one, puts into relief how well DuckTales, due to their building up of this story, they just brought the hammer, emotionally speaking, with the climax of this story. And just how Scrooge reacts to telling the story and then hearing the blowback come on him. And those final 2 minutes of just where everyone is abandoning him, down to the final shot of him in tears while still repressing his... you can feel that it's a palpable mixture of regret, of hatred, of it's a lot of stuff going on there, and it's just heartbreaking to watch them all just throw insults at each other back and forth, and this show has tried to do the dysfunctional family at times, and we've gotten the build-up of Scrooge getting to know the nephews and getting to grow a connection to them. So seeing it all unravel in one episode, just all the build-up that they've done in their relationship is what helps this episode to feel so cathartic in terms of how it ends up rolling that out. So I do think that this episode displays what DuckTales is as a top tier show. If it could maintain this quality, then it would be on par with similar shows that manage this kind of emotional stuff, like Steven Universe, for example. But if DuckTales could manage that frequently, it would be excellent. But this show, it is capable of doing that. So I really love this episode.
Yeah, it was great. And I do think definitely there's some, you mentioned Steven Universe, I do think there are some similarities between Della and Rose Quartz, in terms of the mother figure, the main character, the sons never met, so it's and finding out
Yeah.
the past through
Yeah,
other people.
let's break down the Della reveal, right? So like it turns out that Della we've been chasing the spear of Selene. That's all we knew that was connected to Della, really. And it turns out that the spear of Selene is a spaceship that Scrooge constructed for Della because Della wanted to explore space. Della takes the spaceship without telling Scrooge or Donald, and the rocket disappears into space. Scrooge is unable to find her, and then at the end, the nephews are doing the claims like, "Why didn't you go look for her?" Things like that, and we get this final montage going on in Scrooge's head of him sending several rockets up into space looking for her, spending a lot of his fortunes in the process of that, and just having Donald abandon him. So I guess focusing on Della first, what reaction do we expect? Well, I guess I don't want to go too far ahead into like how would the nephews react if Della shows up, but like first of all, I guess does the reaction that the nephews have, do we feel that it's appropriate considering the way it was rolled out to them?
That's understandable reaction. And it's a very emotional moment. You gotta understand that. I do think throughout this episode, we did see how reckless Dewey was, and how part of him probably does take after his mother. And though Adela, I don't think she's as bad as a person as like Rose Quartz is to Dylan. So
to
Dylan, he's the biggest Rose Quartz critic or Pink Diamond critic. So I don't think it's that bad. She's very young too when she had the triplets too. So I give her a little slack. She made a mistake. I'm sure if she's alive, she comes back, I'm sure she would do things differently. Mm-hmm. Just probably.
And we're also in a similar place as other types of the story, where the kids kind of grow up idolizing the mother, or like putting them in sort of a blameless position, right? So they hear this story, and because they've been mourning their mother all this time, so when they hear this story, they put it all on Scrooge because they're not in a place right now to consider their mom doing anything incorrect.
But in a weird way, though, they're not really Stephen. They're more the Crystal Gems. Like, they're more like Pearl and Garnet in terms of being a blind eye to Rose's faults. Same thing the nephews have to Della's faults.
Right. Because of the fact that they don't know much about her in the first place, and as well as just the tense situation they're in, and the fact that they're children, right? So like it all helps the situation to feel both very believable while still like being very hurtful. Because let's face it, like putting ourselves in Scrooge's position, especially after we see like what he ended up doing. So taking all of that, like you didn't do anything, it's your fault. So like the Ducktales has done a good job in helping us sympathize with both sides of the argument, which is very important to make this episode very, very enthralling to watch. The fact that like I can't say that one argument is dumb or not, like that they both have their justifications. So that definitely makes it very hard to look at.
The way I see it, though, Scrooge and Della, they made sort of bad decisions, but they made decisions on variables that they did not really consider. That if they knew, they would have done things differently. Maybe if Scrooge knew, maybe Della might have just took the spear before he was ready for her to use it. He may not have done it that way. He may have. Or if Della knew there was going to be this storm, she might not have gone up in the spaceship. It's just like variables and circumstances. They're like all parties are to blame, but at the same time, they're not to blame either. It's a tragedy. It just happened. It's, you just got to move on sometimes. You just playing the blame game is not going to fix things.
Speaking of tragedy, also we do get some Donald in this episode.
Yeah,
and, Donald is a real. He's a real
Melancholy
trooper,
Donald.
man. Because like we see him try to talk it out. Well, who knows? Given how angry Donald gets, who knows how he treated this conversations with Della about going up while she has kids coming soon. But like Donald tried to talk her out of it. Then we see Donald like leaving the place with the kids. So like now we know for sure that the nephews were raised by Donald from the very beginning of their lives.
And that's and the pink elephant in the room is, it looks like Della, like the nephew's father was pretty much out of the picture before they were even born. It kind of looked like someone might have just knocked her up and ran.
Yeah, we don't really know anything about fatherhood yet. That's probably a storyline that maybe we'll get into later. But like because the nephews have only been focusing on Della, so it seems that that's all they know about it too. But yeah, just like I just have a lot more respect for Donald now. Like
Yeah.
Already,
Welcome to the club.
Yes. Now, when he talks, and we'll see. But like here, like we only get him in pictures and montages, so like I sympathize with him.
So I guess you probably might and probably prefer to read the Carl Barks and Don Rosa comics because you don't have to worry about him. I would understand him. He just talks in comic book form.
Yeah, but yeah, Donald has some very interesting. Well, he doesn't talk in these episodes, but he gets interesting. Oh, does he? Yeah, in the beginning of the episode.
At the end of the episode too, and I love his reaction to the nephew saying that they found out the truth. It's like he's like, oh shucks, like it's definitely melancholy. He did not want them to know like that type of stuff. He was, I guess, in a way, he was also sort of protective of them, but he sort of took it like a trooper, like you said, much better than maybe he could have. So, give credit to Donald.
Yeah,
he might be the rational one in the room.
Yeah, he does get the tiny little subplot of like he's fixing up his houseboat, and he finally gets it fixed by the time they come back. About like coming back to bad news. So it makes me interested in seeing. We had seen a little bit of Donald in the trailer for the finale that was released at San Diego Comic-Con.
Yeah.
But now I'm more interested because now I know the context of why he's there, which is that the nephews are moving back in with him for the time being. So that I'm definitely more interested in that now.
And who would have thought though? It pretty much the person who's going to save the McDuck family, the person who's going to save the family from destruction is going to be Magica Dispel. Perfect timing. So she's going to be the savior of the family.
Sure. I guess if you want, I guess in a way, like if she's coming at Scrooge's most vulnerable moment, and that brings everybody together, then I guess that's one way of interpreting things.
Yeah. So she's not that bad of a person. So
sure. By the way, I wanted to ask you because in the first episode, The Secrets of Castle McDuck, like the whole story is that the nephews are trying to get information of the Spear Celine. And they end up finding a letter written by Della Duck, but like they interpret it, since it's just Donald's hat, they interpret it as like a prank that Della had planned for Donald. Like, does that make sense?
Well, perhaps. If you read the IDW comics, some of the early issues were like prequels to the days of Scrooge, Donald, and Della's adventures, and you kind of see their little interaction. So that would happen. That would make sense. She kind of was a little prankster with Donald, but she clearly loved him, so they had a good dynamic. So the thing I don't get though is Scrooge introduces fake Donald to his parents as their great nephew or grandnephew.
When Launchpad once again being incredible in these two episodes. Well, Launchpad is the MVP of this show. Every time he shows up, he's good.
When really though, Donald is their grandson. Donald's mother is Scrooge's sister, who is their parents' daughter. So Scrooge is a little self-centered, perhaps, or just don't remember how his family works, how they're connected, because he's been so isolated for them for such a long time.
I feel like this show is very loose with family because like they just mention relatives out of nowhere. Like here's old Dingus McDuck, like this is like making up names.
He's the biggest. He's the biggest jerk of the series.
Yeah. So like, and also in this episode, Secrets of Castle McDuck, we get Dewey having to reveal to his nephews that he has been doing this investigation of Della
To his
Pictures.
brothers. To his brothers.
Oh, well, yeah. Them as a group are the nephews of Scrooge McDuck. So, but within that group, they are brothers. Yes, thank you. But yeah, Dewey has to reveal to his brothers that he's been doing this investigation, and like that scene where they find out, and Huey is angrily asking like, why did you feel the need to keep it a secret? But then they cut to Louie, who's like usually the very snarky one, and he's just like especially hurt, like, oh, that you shouldn't be doing that. Like the way he delivers those lines, like it really hit me, just because Louis is like the character you'd least expect to be that emotional about it. So I really love that section of the episode.
Yeah, I got much respect to Louis, sort of having some character depth.
Yeah, because like I said, like Louis is usually just the snarky one, or the one who's like obsessed about gold. So like him finally getting a little bit of emotional difference from the other two is notable. So I'd like, if there's a second season, there probably is. Like give me more. We can develop Louis a little bit more, since I'm pretty sure that the mom storyline isn't going to be resolved in this season.
Oh, I heard some. Well, it's good news for you. Some word is some information online from the creators. Season 2, there's going to be a lot of Louis focus. This season might have been the Dewey season, but season 2 is going to be Louis' turn, pretty much, to have a little bit of spotlight. So
yeah, that makes sense, given that Dewey, even in these 2 episodes, gets a lot of the focus. So it's time to give the other characters some depth, please.
Yeah, Dewey, and he's the one who cries for attention all the time. The middle child syndrome, when in reality, in terms of the show, he gets the most attention. Now, only person who maybe rivals him is Webby in terms of attention on the show.
So yeah, I think that these episodes do a good job of, I guess, mostly tying it up, because do we expect more Della stuff to come out in the finale?
Well, I don't know, but there's a chance though Della might still be alive.
Are you expecting a return?
Joe. I might have to just maybe spoiler. Can I just spoiler alert what I'm about to say? Because
is this based on the comics? Because if so,
yes.
No. It's not a spoiler if you're just talking about comics.
What that probably the show is going to do the same thing. What I predict, and that is Della. She's in space, but she's in space-time, and time for her has not really gone that far, maybe like a few minutes, while years go by on Earth. On her time, it's like 15 minutes have gone by. So there's a chance she could come back. Maybe not much time has passed, so she's not going to starve to death or anything. And she'll meet her family with a whole big time skip. It's kind of similar to other shows.
Yeah, I feel like sci-fi and time dilations have been very in the relevance.
The end thing to do now. It's the end thing to do now. So that'll be interesting. And I do kind of think, though, it's going to be interesting because if she comes back, I think if she comes back, it might be towards the end of the series. And I could see probably Della and the nephew sort of getting to know each other again, getting back into their lives for the first time, while Donald, perhaps he going to finally marry Daisy and have a family of his own.
Okay, stop. Once you mention Daisy, that's your turn to stop, okay? But so yeah, Della coming back, I think that's certainly in the cards for this show. But I think in the immediate, probably the only effect that this is going to have is on Scrooge's character, because we obviously leave him in a very low spot. So.
Well, if Scrooge's parents are still alive, then Della can still be alive, so.
Well, yeah, but I just mean emotionally speaking, Scrooge is in a very dark place right now. That ending scene, man, where like he has the words ringing in his head of the nephews while he's remembering all the stuff he did, and like he goes into that room that's locked. Like I guess that's the business room, the boardroom, right?
Yeah, and you gotta wonder though. There's probably thinking what the nephew said. probably Donald probably said the same things back in the day, and this time you can clearly understand what they're yelling about.
Yeah, and like it just
And you
and
and you
like
know and you know you're alone though when even Ghost Duckworth is gone.
yeah, and like those words too. Like the final scene, the final moments of the show is just Beakley's words. Like, you've pushed everyone away again. I hope you're happy. And like Scrooge, like through clenched teeth, is like, I am. But like tears are coming down as he's saying that. It's like David Tennant in these final scenes like really gets across the angst of of this situation. So I just really love his performance in these final moments of the episode, and they set up an interesting place for Scrooge in the finale.
Oh, you know, he is pretty much for Magica and her scheme. He's a sitting duck.
I just want to let that sit for a bit. That you just used a sitting duck pun here. Just leave that there.
Come on, man. That's so obvious. Like, that's too obvious. I couldn't pass it up.
Yeah. Anyways, now of these episodes, do you prefer one over the other?
I
don't know.
I just choose. Oh well, gotta be the Sunchasers episode because I just said it's like the best episode of the series. So. It kind of has to win, right?
Yeah, I guess so. But I asked because these are actually both really good episodes, I think. Like, there's not really a wrong answer, but I do think that The Sunchaser is the best episode and probably best episode of the series. So I guess we can just walk through that one first. Like, the premise is that they're going on this road trip somewhere. Scrooge mentions a joke about it being the site of the Maltese MacGuffin, which is a very meta description since obviously we never actually get to the object that is the MacGuffin. So yeah, that's
a running gag on the show. Sometimes we have so many of these off-screen adventures, either like episode like begins when they just come back from an adventure, and same thing here.
Yeah. But meanwhile, like the nephews and Webby have been working on this secret project of getting all the information together. They found documents shredded on the week they were born. Oh, but by the way, actually, just like connecting that to the Della stuff in the first episode in Castle McDuck, they find this picture, and they also find that it's from the date of the week they were born. So, hear me out on this theory. Is it possible that Della went on this ship early to escape motherhood?
I don't know. That's possible, but this...
it's so to add that detail of the week they were born. Like that I feel like that means something.
Well, I don't know. I kind of doubt it's escape motherhood. I think it might just be more of one last hurrah before motherhood. I'm thinking that's what, if they're going to do anything, that's going to be her mindset of one last adventure as a non-mom before I become a mom and maybe have to settle down a little bit.
That's an optimistic view of.
Well, it's Disney too. I expect, and it's Disney. I expect more optimistic view here.
Yeah, I guess. Although I mean, like that episode, the second half of that episode was much darker than I would expect from an average Disney show. So like, really, at least for me, I don't want to do anything with it's Disney. It has to be a happy ending. I think that this show can do a little bit more darker stuff, but it's possible that it could just be like last time before I become a mother, I'll do this.
Well, she's very kind of very beloved character here in the Disney fandom, so I kind of doubt they would do that. So you have to understand, though, this is like this franchise, this Donald Duck and Family franchise has been going on since like the 30s. So
yeah, that's definitely other context we need to take into account here for sure.
Yeah.
But yeah, like that they have found documents shredded on the week they were born, so they're trying to piece that together, and they're just about to put this last piece in the puzzle before the plane crashes due to Scrooge, Launchpad, and Beakley arguing.
Yeah.
And like half of this episode is just Dewey chasing around the piece back and forth.
There's this whole
back and forth where Huey is being a counterbalance and Dewey is walking the other way. So like that takes up like half the episode, but I think that they sprinkle enough jokes that it works. Like that, there's also a moment where they have like a walkie-talkie talking to each other.
Walkie-talkie. Who still uses walkie-talkies? So
I guess people in the Ducktales universe.
Yeah.
Also, it's like they're like shouting at each other about needing to find the document, but I guess Scrooge and Launchpad never hear them screaming at each other from. Like I guess it must be a really big plane, but like I noticed that they were like shouting
big
at each
plane.
other things.
Well, they might have been drowned out by the Dark Green Duck theme song.
That made an appearance there. Although on replay, so it ended up being annoying very quickly for them.
Oh, you don't like the song? Boop, 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 boop.
I find it okay. This is the first time I'd heard it, but if I was forced to listen to that 10 times on replay because the VHS wasn't working, then I would also go insane.
Well, it's still better than Quack Pack, so.
Sure. But the episode really heats up when Scrooge notices that he's chasing this, and then the little piece goes out the window, and Dewey's just going all out chasing it. You have the nephews being like, "Hey, we're family, we're enough." Like, don't, because the Odyssey going out on the wing is risking his life. And like the music swells up to make it more dramatic even as Scrooge tries to go out. I think Scrooge mentions at some point like, "I can't help you there," like, or something like that. And maybe that ends up being a little bit of foreshadowing of how he felt when Della went up too. I think that's a possible connection there.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, eventually Dewey manages to get this document and confronts Scrooge. Like, "Tell me about the Spear of Selene." And Scrooge tells the story through flashbacks, so we get a little bit of them adventuring together. So that was nice, and then all the sad story unravels.
And we still have not heard Della's voice. I'm waiting for that. Please, next season, in flashback, let's hear her voice. And maybe get a big star to voice her or something.
Yeah, so she's still just an image in the past for now.
Yeah.
Also, in the last episode, Dewey has the orb, so he's just scrolling through the photos of Della as well. So really, Della just exists in photographs, really.
Mm-hmm.
But this story gets told, and then the nephews begin getting angry at Scrooge. You mentioned earlier the moment where Scrooge also begins talking back and like tells Webby like, "You're not family, stay out of this," and Webby is very hurt, and Beakley gets in there too, and the plane crashes and we all end up home and everything just falls apart there. And the nephews tell Donald to go back to the marina. Beakley and Webby leave too, and then we have that ending sequence we've already talked about.
And you forgot about Duckworth. He also left.
Yeah, I didn't have much of all the emotional stuff that went on at the end of this episode. Duckworth was not really something that really triggered me there.
Well, I'm just showing you how alone Scrooge is. He has no. If Duckworth was there, he could have been good protection against Magica. So
that's true.
But Scrooge is now alone. I think he still has Launchpad. So.
I guess we didn't see Launchpad leave, and Launchpad is a very, very loyal character, so I guess he sticks around.
But it's emotional. He lost his family for a second time, and man, part of me died when I saw this episode, and it's very depressing ending, but I loved it. I loved it because sometimes you want to be depressed.
No, yeah, for sure. Like this episode, like finally pays off all the stuff we've been doing with their connection to their mother and Scrooge's connection to the family. Just all ties in together there.
Well, I think like probably maybe like the best Steven Universe episodes are the depressing ones, and I think they might be following suit here.
Yeah, but there's always hope for rebuilding based on how much they've done up to this point. But speaking of family, the secrets of Castle McDuck. We haven't really talked about Scrooge's parents.
Yay!
Yeah, they're older. They're also cursed with immortality. Being cursed with immortality seems to be a common theme among ducks in this universe.
I get the impression though that they're tied to the castle. They can't leave the castle, and people can come in and out of the castle every 5 years. So Scrooge and the others not going to be able to go visit them for another 5 years. That's sort of the impression I got, but I'm not sure if it was confirmed though.
Yeah, but that does seem like the parameters of a curse, so yeah. I'd buy it. Fergus and Downey are their names. Fergus is very testy towards Scrooge, and Scrooge likewise back. A very similar staring down sequence to something that Scrooge has done in the past with people. Like I think Scrooge and Donald had this kind of stare down thing going on in the first episode. So staring also seems to be a very common thing in Scottish ducks.
Yeah.
Also, Scrooge challenges his dad to an arm wrestling match at some point.
Yeah, and it turns into a real wrestling match. It seems.
Yeah, so sorry, he didn't mean to headlock you. Yeah, and the idea is that they're showing up at this castle to find some treasure, and but like trying to endear themselves to the family. Scrooge tries to pass off Launchpad as Donald, as we mentioned. He introduces himself with "Oh boy, oh boy, oh boy, quack." That's his best impression of
Donald
the duck.
has never said that in this series, so. He said he's done that many times in other media, but yeah, he never done "oh boy, boy." But that's his catchphrase, though.
Does he quack though?
No. You know what his other catchphrase though is? He has never done in this series yet, and called women toots, like "Hey toots." Hey, Tootsie has not done that.
That's for the better.
Probably the only women she's met in this series are, let's see, Mrs. Beakley, Ma Beagle, Gabby Staberson. So he'd probably be dead if he ever called any of them toots. So
sure. And so the nephews in the meantime are going off to do their research.
One more thing though, Louis said, "Future owner of this castle." Louis just give up. He's not going to inherit anything because Scrooge is never going to die. Immortality is a thing, so just give up. You have a better. You got to wait as long as Prince Charles is to be King of England.
No, yeah, and these people are also immortal as well. So it's like, well, they're not going to die either. So, that's just Louis' style. He's got to try finding some way to get something out of people. But Dewey finds a riddle behind a portrait that ends up matching the handwriting from the Spear of Selene letter, so he finds out it's Della. But the other nephews want to investigate, and so they go on while Dewey keeps trying to stop them and fails to do that because they're helping. And Dewey even recognizes, like, how can I stop them if they're helping me to solve the riddle? But they eventually find Donald Duck's grave, apparently in the middle in these underground catacombs. There's a demon dog that shows up to try stopping them. I enjoyed this little animation sequence of the demon dog chasing Dewey through the caves. Like there's some interesting angles in there that just stood out to me as like well done, well drawn. So I just wanted to give a shout out to that sequence in particular. But eventually the brothers get together and they shoo the dog away with the help of the ghosts of McDuck. Were there known characters among those ghosts there?
Well, yeah. In terms of, there's this thing called the McDuck family tree. That's I think Don Rosa kind of made like a long time ago. And I think Carl Bark did it too. It's just sort of there's very links to it. I could maybe show it to you one day. It's but they've never actually appeared living or never really seen talk like any point into the comics or any of the cartoons. So yeah, people know of their names. So yeah.
Okay, so this whole lore exists then of like ghosts of McDuck existing somewhere, of the McDuck ancestors.
And I gotta say that one duck McDuck all the way on the right. I kind of liked her design. She looked kind of cute, so.
Yeah, maybe we'll give the ghosts their own episode in season 3 or something. But
oh, that'd be interesting.
In the meantime, Scrooge ends up trying to find the treasure on his own, but he finds Fergus there as well, and they end up looking together for it. And Scrooge is getting angry at Fergus, like, I want to do this on my own. I did everything on my own, including getting my number 1 dime. And Fergus reveals the story that, well, he gave him the number 1 dime because he gave it to the guy who got his shoe shined by Scrooge in order to teach him self-reliance.
Yeah,
that was a very sweet moment too, I think.
Yeah, that also happened in the comics, but did not happen in the original 1987 series, so it's kind of a third version of this story.
Yeah, but I like it because, obviously Fergus is being portrayed in this episode as a very hard-nosed character, similar to Scrooge at times. Yeah. But, here we find them finding some equal footing, and, Fergus, admitting that he's been hard on Scrooge. So I like that at least he's cognizant of that.
Also it gives Scrooge more of extra reason to have some hold on the dime, to have attachment to the dime even more than he had before.
Yeah, I guess that's true too, giving it some extra emotional meaning, because obviously in this finale with Magica, we're gonna focus back on getting his dime. So I guess that helps to give it some extra significance going into that. So and it's done nicely with the whole emotional connection between Scrooge and Fergus. But they eventually find where the treasure is supposed to be, and it ends up just being a letter from Dingus. Their ancestors well, stop being such a loafer. go make your own treasure or something. And Fergus does a classic, I guess similar to Donald Duck, just a tantrum of sorts. So that was a climax there.
I guess the whole tantrums do run in the family.
Yeah,
I have not seen the nephews do that yet, though. Which one would most likely have a tantrum? Zoe, perhaps. That's my pick.
Huey feels a bit unhinged to me at times. He panics a lot, especially in this episode in particular. He's getting very angry at Dewey for holding the secret. Also, I think he's the one holding the door to keep the dog from coming in. So Huey is strong too. So he's got some pent up energy in there.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
But so I think we're now just all we have left is the season 1 finale. Do you want to make any final predictions before we go?
Predictions?
We go in? Yeah.
Well, I'll do my best. I'll do my best. Though I have stuff in 70 or Comic Con kind of spoiled some season 2 stuff. So, but I'll say this though. I already said magic is going to be the key to bring the family back. I do think though it's going to be that perhaps we're going to find Lena's dad in the finale, and he's probably going to be a bird. He's going to be a bird. Magica's brother, who she turned to a bird, and Poe. And I think Scrooge is probably going to give him a job as his magic guy, his magic expert, to sort of protect him against magic, and probably give him his own housing and home, and so that him and Lena can live somewhere. And probably Lena's goal for the rest of the series is to find a way to turn her dad back into a duck.
You mentioned this theory back in the episode we did on the Greek island or whatever, and I considered it very out there, and I still consider it totally not based in anything we've seen in this show. But
you have to watch the other shows.
That.
You have to read comics and the other shows to know that. So
yeah, and I don't want to. I just want to go by this show, and this show has Lena's dad doesn't exist.
I do think though, new prediction though. I do think though the Donald he's going to get this new voice, and it's only going to last like one episode. So
yeah, we did. One thing that we did get from Comic-Con is that Don Cheadle is going to be Donald's electronically modified voice. So we'll see how that goes. Like, why he would even have that in the first place.
Oh,
but
I think though it's going to be this awesome thing. Though the whole family is going to unite together to unite against Magica, and I think Scrooge is not going to do a damn thing to defeat her. He's going to be like the vulnerable one, the hostage, pretty much, the damsel, and everyone else is going to come to the rescue. So that's my prediction.
That seems doable. Yeah, I also think that one important thing that these episodes do is put Scrooge in a very weak place, a very low place. So that sets up the nephews and Webby to be the main stars, like the main saviors of Scrooge, and in that way, like really paying off the whole connection that they've built with Scrooge, just as Scrooge has built with them, to the point of trusting them to save him out of this situation. So. And it'll be interesting to see how they put Donald into this, because now that they know, the kids know about Donald's connection with Scrooge, so it'll be interesting to see how Donald reacts to that.
Speaking of secrets and stuff, I also predict next episode all the main characters are going to know Gizmo Duck is Fenton. They're going to know Gizmo Duck's identity.
Sure. Even if it's already ambiguous that I think people know that, but okay. I mean, hey, if you want to fit Gizmo Duck in the middle of your season finale, sure. I mean, we've given him a couple of episodes, so let's do that. But until then, we are going to try doing an episode on. We've always been doing podcasts on 2 episodes in a row for a while, so we are going to do a podcast on just the finale. Although it does seem to be a 2-parter.
Yeah, it's 2 parts. So it's a finale.
Yeah.
I do hope though, for sure though, we have all the time in the world to make sure all of us are there for this one. So. Yeah.
So we'll be here for the Shadow War, which I think is the name of the special, and the 2 parts are the night of the spell and the day of the ducks. So those are the episode titles of the special. Mm-hmm. So we'll be here to talk about that next week. Until then, you can always find out more information about our podcast at overlyanimated.com. You can chat with us on Discord about Ducktales or about any other show we cover here at overlyanimated.com/Discord. You can support us financially via Patreon at patreon.com/overlyanimated. Thanks to all of our current patrons, especially our patron of the podcast, Mitch, aka Fever Mitch. And thanks as always to our Patreon executive producers, John, Ryan, Steve, Andy, and Hugh.
Oh, we got
all
the podcasts, right?
Yeah, we've got, besides DuckTales, we've recently talked about Voltron.
Yeah. I just got the Voltron, they saved Earth now. They're free time. Now, go find Della. Go bring her home, man. That's a job for you.
Sure. Bring space shows together, I guess. But yeah, we always have other shows to talk about, although August is a bit of a low period, but it will be highlighted by the DuckTales series finale.
Yeah, so. And I heard maybe September OKKO might be coming back, so perfect time.
That's farther off, yeah. Adventure Time, OKKO, Craig of the Creek. There are shows to find after the DuckTales hiatus happens, but... we'll be here for when DuckTales comes to its first season conclusion. Until then, thanks for listening, and we'll talk to you soon. Adios.
Bye.